This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Recording.
There we go.
Pause recording.
He scored the winning goal. So.
Move your finger off.
Just a little slow for him.
Move your finger off.
At least it wasn't
But-
political. Talking.
Get the finger off.
I know.
There's a few people are idiots.
Usually it says it's not recording.
I know, sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Joint Town and Village Fire District Commission meeting to order. It's Monday, February 23rd, 2026. And we're all here at the town hall. Meeting was properly posted in the town and the village. We have a quorum. And go public appearances. Public's opportunity to speak to the commission about an item that's not on the agenda. I don't see anything, okay. Discuss and consider the minutes from our January 26th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 26th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Mike to approve the January 26th meeting minutes as presented. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. One abstention. Chief's report.
Total staff right now is 41 people. That consists of 9 officers, 3 driver operators, 22 firefighters, 4 probationary, 1 explorer, 1 chaplain, and 1 honorary member. Department was at 50 calls for service as of 2/18/26, averaging 1.02 calls per day. That were to continue, estimated number of calls at the end of the year would be about 372. Breakdown of calls is 13 in the town of Cottage Grove, 8 in the town of Pleasant Springs, 17 in the village of Cottage Grove, and 12 mutual aid. For the apparatus updates, ladder 1 had some check engine light issues, went in for repairs. It's gone for a couple weeks actually. They kept having issues trying to figure it out. But it's back now, it's repaired, back working correctly. Squad 1 had a bad power steering fluid level sensor, which was replaced. And then car 1 today had a bad battery, which got replaced. Equipment, the new airbag lifting system for extrication calls was replaced. Old system was pretty old and had some rust issues. They were worried about the bags failing because of rust inside of them. So we'll get rid of those. Training for January was medical evals for all the staff. And training for February is SCBA mask fit testing and air consumption drills. We lost 1 member in February due to personal reasons. And for the staff milestones, we have Dennis Larson with 37 years, Tom Loud with 6 years, Jake Better with 4 years, and Paul Winters with 28 years service.
Anybody have anything for the chief? Anything else, chief? Okay. Next item, update on the revising town and village ordinances regarding false alarms.
So Chief Gary, myself, and Chief Lang, and also Ruth Manthe, the attorney for the village, met last week. Discussed some of the discuss the update on the ordinance, discuss some of the outstanding items. There was some discussion about doing calendar year versus rolling year. We came to a kind of a compromise where I think we're just discussing doing calendar year, but if a person has had more than 3 false alarms in the previous year, they won't reset. They'll start at an elevated value, just so that it's easier to track on the alarm side for the calendar year side, but then the people that have a lot of false alarms at the end of the year aren't just going back to 0 and getting a free pass at the beginning of the year. So we thought that was a kind of a compromise between the two.
So I had a question. I don't understand the challenge in the administrative piece of calendar year versus rolling.
Sure.
In the sense that, you know, you're gonna have to look back at the historical false alarms history, right?
Right.
So whether it's a calendar year or a rolling, I don't understand, where's the challenge with how it's that much more difficult to administer? I don't know.
So we're, by a calendar year, you're going from January 1st to December 31st, and I know you understand that aspect of it.
Yep.
When you're looking at it from a historical, that's how it's being tracked. That's how budgets are tracked. That's how everything is operated, at least in our government versus school government, which is, or the state, which is July 1st to June 30th. Okay. And when you're talking about somebody that's repetitive, there has to be a drop-off period for them, which you understand. But where does that drop-off occur, as has been referenced before, when it's a rolling? So we say we have violations, and again, you go on a rolling. April to April now is when you're looking, or actually April to March 31st. They start dropping off in April, is what you're seeking? Or do
Well, I
they
guess,
retain?
Chief, I just back up a little bit. You know, I understand where you're going. I'm trying to understand the challenge. And is it the system thing? Is the database? So for instance, someone has a false alarm. How do we record it? Where do we record it? And how do we reference it in the future to kind of answer the question that I'm seeking?
Sure. We have our recording mechanism at the PD. The fire department has theirs. So the way they record theirs, we correlate together.
So there's 2 databases.
There's 2 databases, because again, fire only deals with fire. Police deals with fire. We deal with intrusion. We deal with weather related, all those. So we have a more significant accounting that goes into it. And I've got right now 1 officer, 2nd officer is being trained up to monitor those calls that are being recorded, so that we're keeping accurate record of when we have those false alarms, how many there have been with certain individuals or businesses, however you want to look at it, so that we can appropriately attend to them in an enforcement manner. So again, with what we discussed and with legal counsel was very open and said, you can do either rolling or calendar. But with the way that we're approaching it is, again, you have somebody that's a repeat offender. With the ordinance changes, if they have more than 3 or more, they won't reset in the next year to back to 0. They'll start off with where they're at that 3 number or the 4th one. Those are very infrequent per se, but again, for enforcement and tracking abilities, that's a lot easier.
And that also goes to the issue of having 3 false alarms in December and then resetting, and that was a discussion point before. And so this compromise sounds like it would solve the issue of if that were to happen. And the way it was pitched in the very beginning was, this is supposed to be educational, right? We don't want false
We don't
alarms
want
at
this.
all.
The
So
whole
hopefully
goal
they
is,
go
this
away.
isn't an ongoing administrative burden because we want to
Right.
educate and train and.
Right, but they're saying that they've identified it as a potential administrative burden, having it all with the rolling calendar, so this seems like
Because
a good
again,
compromise.
If you're looking at,
It's a systematic thing. Databases, I mean, we have attendance records and it rolls and driving records roll. So, it's a matter of how it's implemented. And I totally understand maybe the systems that we've got aren't sophisticated enough to be able to do it, and that's fine. But again, it's not that difficult with the right database, the right system. And to me, it's kind of strange that we would have, two databases keeping track of false alarms. If we're saying a false alarm is a false alarm, not you get 3 false fire calls or 3 false police calls. We're saying false alarm is a false alarm, correct?
that is correct. And that's the way we look at it from police department side. Fire department's only looking at it from a fire side. They have their database that they need to maintain. And again, in collaboration, we work on making sure that things are matching up. And I guess if you're looking at a spreadsheet that has 50, and I'm just using this number, 50 alarms on it. And I'm just gonna use the 5 of you sitting there. You get an alarm in January, you get one in March, you get one in June, you get one in July, and then you happen to get one in November. Picture that 50 times where they're all spread out at various months and things. And now you have somebody looking at that, trying to figure out, okay, again, you're following the spreadsheet, but again, trying.
So is that the way it's going to be kept as in a spreadsheet?
Mhm.
So it'll be by address, name, address? So you could
No,
filter
it's
the
by
address
date.
column, sort it, and look at the history. I mean, I'm fine however you guys want to do it. You guys collaborate, it's fine. I think when we spoke before, and I know, Mike, you were there, that in the sense is the rolling really is what we want to keep track of. But at the end of the day, if we can educate people so that we can reduce false alarms, that's the goal. And so I guess that's fine. I'm just frustrated a little bit that it's that difficult to implement because I implement stuff like this all the time. And I've never really struggled with it being that much of an administrative burden, particularly if you use a spreadsheet. Just filter the column and you can take a look at the history in a matter of minutes. You can go, well, this guy's had 6, or this is the first one. It's pretty easy. So the recommendation, going back to what you said, is that would reset at the end of the year unless they had more than 3.
That is what legal is working on currently.
And if they have more than 3 in a year,
Then when,
It's still following the original proposal. Of 3rd and 4th there's both citations that go with 3rd and 4th. 5th and 6th has citations. 7th and above has a citation. The breakdown is 3rd offense and 4th offense is $250. 4th offense or 5th offense and 6th offense is $500 each. 7th and above is $1,000 each.
and this is all being tracked, well, let me back that up. So it's a 1-year review, basically. Every year it will reset. What happens, so my question is on the databases, which I don't know what they look like right now. And so,
so he's saying databases, but we use a records management system. Every call that we go on
Yep.
gets entered into our records management system, gets entered into Nearest. So that's what we're using to pull our data from. But we're pretty good about knowing, like, we've been here this many times this year. We keep track of that just in-house, but like, then we actually, it's like, well, how many times have we been here now? We just go back and pull up a spreadsheet that's printed out from our records management system. So I guess when he was saying there's 2 separate systems, that's what he's talking about. Like, we're entering all of our fire reports into a product called First Do. That's our records management system. It does training, calls, inspections, everything is in there. So they use whatever they use for their side. And I think he's running a spreadsheet printed off from his stuff. We run a spreadsheet printed off from our stuff, and then we compare notes.
so you are comparing the notes. Obviously you have to. Okay. But Chief Gary he's the one who issued the ticket, right?
Correct.
Right, so the next thought I had is, at some point, you'll have to contact him, or you guys will already be able to talk to one another right at the scene and go, yeah, we've been here, this is the fourth time we've been here this year.
Yeah.
And it's a problem.
And I think when the new ordinance goes into effect, if we're following that the first is a verbal warning, second is a written warning, and third is citation. Going forward, I think it's just gonna be an automatic, like any false alarm we're going on, we're just gonna email Chief Gary or whoever his representative is that's gonna deal with false alarms and just say, we had a false alarm at this date, this time, at this place. It's the first one. And then he can track it, and then if we get called there again, second time, this date, this time, this is second alarm, then he can do the written warning that they were gonna do. And then I think that's just what we're gonna end up doing going forward to make it. I mean, I think that's the best way to handle it.
I
Would you
mean,
agree?
yes.
Are you guys gonna create a registry of people who have
There-
alarm systems? Are you gonna create a mandatory registry?
There's a requirement to register your system with the village January 1 of every year.
Is there?
There will be.
That's what I was saying.
Oh,
There isn't
it
right
is,
now.
Right
okay,
now,
that is-
there will be.
that
That's
is-
gonna be
that-
part
Yes,
of,
that's
Yeah.
part of what's
Okay.
being proposed.
January 1st, 2027, I believe that would start if it was.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if that was, I hate to use that word, assumed, that was one of the additional things that we all had talked about. You know, creating a registry for people who do have, or those who do have alarm systems. Okay. From the town's side of things, this 8-page document is the county's alarm. And it's convoluted, it's horrendous, and it's not easily used. I mean, if we're talking about rolling versus stagnant, that's like breathing compared to what this ordinance. The town already has an existing one by ordinance, which is pretty much what we've been talking about tonight. The only thing, and this is gonna be on our next town board meeting, is that ours is a 60-day period as opposed to an annual period.
60-day period for false alarm counts.
Yes,
For
okay.
counts.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
That's how
you
the
know, big,
villages-
big,
That's
huh?
how the villages used to be as well.
Yeah.
Before it was revised a couple of years ago was.
And so,
During 60 days. They reset after 60 days.
and so, that's like I said, this is gonna be on our, to bring it up to the annual situation, you know, as far, rather than 60 days, because of the fact that you'd never have any repeat offenders if everything changed or dropped off
Dropped
after
off
60
60 days,
days.
yeah.
So, and I think we would also, when I bring it up for our next meeting, change the fee schedule for citations, because ours, I think, is like $25, which isn't, I mean, that's pocket change to a lot of people these days. But other than that, we're pretty much lockstep as to what we've been talking about here. So it'll be pretty easy for us to match basically, you know, what you guys are working on there and stuff like that. The only thing that I am not 100% sure on is the registration of people who do have alarm systems. The county requires it. County ordinance, you know, that's already there, whether or not,
It requires it?
huh?
It requires registration of automatic alarm system?
Yep.
For unincorporated areas.
Okay.
And so, and Lieutenant Moore from our side of the county is the one who's been tasked with that portion of the ordinance. And I don't know if the county is actively pursues that kind of thing, whether they have false alarms or not. And because of this, the county's ordinance existing about registration, our ordinance does not address that at all whatsoever. And so I need to come to grips on, does the town do it? Does the county do it? So I've got work to get done along those lines as far as figuring out who we would register to. I'm all big proponent about finding out who's got the alarms and who doesn't, so. Other than that, I think we're,
If the committee wishes to see basically our tracking document and how we're able to run a report, I have it here if you'd like.
I guess one question I had was,
I could,
go ahead.
could I see that?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
So we originally started talking about the false alarms because of the fire department. And of course, our ordinances talks about alarms generically. Doesn't really talk about fire or police. It's false alarms, period. So the way that it's being shaped up in the village is one thing. How are you going to manage it in the town? I mean, we talked about trying to create something that's similar. It's not going to be identical by no means.
ours is actually kind of all encompassing. No person shall permit an intrusion, fire, hold-up alarm, or any other alarm system that regularly emits false signals.
That's pretty much what the village is.
Yeah.
But when you talk about citations, would you have your,
Because of the fact, we've already have an ordinance that needs a little bit tweaking.
yeah.
I'm just gonna have our deputies enforce it through the ordinance rather than taking people to county court, because the counties deposit for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And again, try to make this as much of an education situation as much as possible. And I certainly don't want to send somebody uptown to circuit court for something like a false alarm or multiple false alarms. So.
And I think our ordinance will be different than the villages, with we were dealing with pretty much fire, but we would have the sheriff's department do ours.
Right, they would write
They
the
got the police
citations,
and-
correct.
Yeah, but we have to decide how we're gonna do it, right?
No, I mean, it's,
No, what I'm saying is that, are we gonna go with the yearly thing
oh, I
in
see
our,
what you're saying.
in our ordinance, or are we gonna go with the movable?
For the rolling.
Yeah. It doesn't affect the village what we do.
No, it doesn't. But part of me wants to make it easy for the fire department, so they know some consistency, but at the same point, time too is kind of like Peter in a way. I just assume somebody has 2 strikes December 31st, come January 1st, okay, you're free and clear to do another 2 or 3, right away again.
So we're
So
gonna talk about this at the next meeting.
March 2nd. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
so if the end goal is to reduce false alarms, what we've talked about isn't really the driver. The driver is permitting and education that goes with that, right? And so,
With the
we haven't
backup.
really implemented any permitting, but that education piece and how we do it is the critical part of trying to get people to understand the importance of knowing what their system is doing, and when they trigger something that could be a false alarm, that they are able to call it off.
So I guess I had envisioned that when they registered their system every January 1st, there was some type of education they got up front before they even had an alarm go off. And I'm sure everyone's gonna collaborate on what that piece looks like.
So when you guys met with, so is the plan every January you have to re-register your system so that we can provide ongoing connections and communication? Okay, no, that's great. I think that's gonna be very helpful in trying to reduce the false alarm count.
A question I would have is there going to be, say, for example, I have an alarm system. I am not registered with anybody, okay? You guys come, you give me my sheet of paper saying that, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. And also you have to register your unit your system with, in this case, the town. What happens if I say, I'm not gonna register me? You know, seeing you've already had contact with me, so you know I exist out there, you know, without, you know, I have a system, but I haven't registered it with you. Is there gonna be a mechanism, or do we want a mechanism to,
I'm sure you guys
Like a
talked
penalty for not
having.
for not registering.
We
your
did
system.
discuss that, and that'll be up to the board if that's something they wish to.
So was there a recommendation that you guys put together on that?
In informal, yes, we said there should be a penalty for failing to register.
But we're also giving everyone a year.
Grandfather.
Grandfathered in,
But
so
I-
that everyone will know, and we'll do a communication blast as best we can.
So you're gonna communicate out to the village, to everybody saying, hey,
If you have one, like this is, you're gonna have to register starting January 1 of 2027.
no, too?
with the village.
Mhm.
I don't have theirs, but.
Mhm.
all the
Yes, there's
same.
gonna be a big education piece to
Mhm.
get
Yeah.
people to register.
That's right.
Okay.
And we do the same thing with dog licenses, and that
Not everybody-
guilty for many years of never registering my dog. So it's gonna, I think it's gonna take a lot of work to get people to,
Get to have it streamed.
So there's the education, hey, you have to have this registered to, if there's false alarm, then there's education in your system as far as how it affected the police and the fire department. Because maybe some people just don't get that.
Mhm.
The second one's a written warning. Okay. Question, have you ever, between the chief, both chiefs, have you ever run across anybody you would consider habitual in a sense?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think what you proposed would take care of or satisfy the village and the town for a habitual offender or not? Or is there something more, one step, just a small step for the habitual?
I think this is,
That you should be in the ruling.
yeah, I think this is where you gotta start personally. I don't know what you do. I'm not good without calling out any names. One of them, it's like a mechanical issue. It's like they said they've had people look at the system, they can't figure out why it's constantly doing this. But it seems like it gets really bad around hydrant flushing time. And if we're operating on the system somewhere, if we open a hydrant too fast or use too much water, it does it.
Okay.
So it's like a mechanical issue, but they have a sprinkler contractor that's looked at it. But they've been looking at it for, I would say, at least a decade. It's been going on for at least a decade.
Okay. So when I think of the habitual person, I'm thinking of a tenant or somebody like that.
Okay,
I mean,
that not so much,
okay,
no.
okay. So that's where when we think about this education portion, educating people, what do you think, chief?
The commercial side is, well, what I call again, we have a definition change here, like the fire department considers the apartment complexes commercial.
Yeah.
The police department considers those residential, just by our code, his code is different. So commercials are by far the worst offenders. The residential, what we would call residential, single family house, those are the one-offs. It's very rare that we get called to those more than once. It's like it happens once. We show up, they get embarrassed, they figure out that we're gonna get called, and then they know in the future what they have to do, and it kind of takes care of itself. It's more like the apartment complexes, some of the commercial occupancies that they just keep hammering it out. It's like we just keep getting called there. So I think this is a step to try and remedy that without trying to, again, we're not trying to penalize people or punish people. We just want them to fix it so that it stops, I guess. And there's always gonna be false alarms. We understand that, but going to the same place 10 to 15 times a year, I don't think that's a necessary trade-off either.
Yeah, and I don't, just from my position as a board member, I would think that if I was a volunteer fire member, would I want to be constantly called out on these alarms like this? I think I'd be pretty burnt out after a year.
It takes its toll when you hear the same address all the time.
Right.
I'll just flat out say it, like,
Yep.
you see the numbers kind of dwindle a little bit where it's like, oh, yeah, that place
So-
again.
When we talk about the education, fines, I'm not, point is, I guess, you have one. Granted, now it sounds like there's many different factors that could kick an alarm.
Mhm.
But if it's a one factor where you know you could do something about it, I guess as the operator, you should be diligent about correcting it. Because reducing those calls to me reduces, the problems that we're having with getting people or people just, saying this is ridiculous. I want to be a firefighter, not just a babysitter.
It's not even that, like, I think there's been, kind of heard it at one point where there's, I think what it was relayed as is that the fire department doesn't want to go on these calls. And that's not what we're saying. That's not what the case is. It's just that we're in the business of trying to do community risk reduction. And every time one of these trucks goes out the door, it goes down the road, or we paid 40 some people to come down here and get on one of these trucks, it puts the community at risk. It puts the firefighters at risk. It puts us at risk, puts people out on the roads at risk. So if we can eliminate some of these repeats, why, it's a win-win for everybody. It's not gonna put the community at risk. It's not gonna put our trucks at risk or us at risk. So, all it takes is for somebody to turn in front of a fire truck when you're driving down the road. We don't even go emergent to false alarms anymore. We're ones where a lot of these fire alarms, we go non-emergent to them because so many of them are proven to be false. That if we don't get any other further updates from the comm center, then we're going non-emergent because there's no point in risking added risk to the community. So that's where we're at right now.
Thanks for letting me speak on it. I appreciate it.
Can you refresh my memory? Most of the apartment buildings have public area pull boxes, correct? Do they or do they not?
If it's got a fire alarm system, there's usually at least one pull station on it.
What happens if there's somebody pulls a public hallway type pull station? How does that get recorded or dealt with and stuff?
Kind of depends on the situation. Like we had one last year at one of the businesses where it was a kid that mom was buying something from the store and the kid turned and did it, didn't really understand what they were doing. That one, we're not gonna give the business owner a citation because it's not really their fault for something like
No,
that.
correct. And that was, I guess,
If it's malicious, then I would say we would then consider still doing the ordinance where we're giving them warnings. Because then they need to address their security to we were getting a lot of false alarms in one of the apartment buildings and it turns out there was somebody smoking in the staircase. And it would happen at late at night, consistently in the same staircase. And it was always late at night. And basically we got so many false alarms there that we asked them to improve their security and put cameras in there or do something to try to figure out who's smoking in your staircase so that we're not getting called out there all the time. So I would say something like that where it's malicious, then yeah, we'd still want to follow through with the ordinance where they get a
Sure.
warning. And they need to come up with a way to maybe address that and figure out which tenant's doing that because I can't sit there and watch the staircase all the time for them. We can't keep driving over there to do that.
okay. Anybody have anything else?
So are we gonna review a draft on our next? So the draft that Rick's working on, we'll review at the village board meeting on the second.
So,
I don't know if it'll be ready for the second, but as soon as he has it ready.
So in the next meeting or two. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Appreciate the update. Good.
All right. Next item, discuss and consider funding to replace the chairs in the fishbowl.
So on this one, following the meeting last month, we had somebody donate 6 chairs to us, 6 brand new wood chairs. And then the remainder of the chairs, the Fire Department Association and the Deer Grove Association bought the rest. So the chairs are already purchased and taken care of. We did it
Fantastic.
with our fundraised funds. So.
Well, thank everybody for the generosity. Thank you. Next item, discuss and consider sale of the old thermal imaging cameras.
For this one, the capital budget this year was to buy 3 brand new thermal imaging cameras. The old ones, I don't know if they'll have a lot of value, but we could put them on Wisconsin surplus and try to sell them, get something out of them to recoup some of the cost. I just like to get permission from you guys before I sell municipal owned equipment.
And the department has no use for the 3 old ones? They're outdated?
We went to new ones that are better and in better condition. So I think there's somebody might get some use out of them, but for what we're using them for, they've served their purpose.
So even as a backup, right, you would never use them?
Probably not.
Chief Gary, have any use for one?
Not at this time.
Okay.
But thank you.
Okay, you can go ahead and do that then,
Huh?
right? You can go ahead and,
Sure. Yes, yes,
A motion?
yes, please.
I'll make a motion to give the department permission to sell the obsolete or the old thermal imaging cameras.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to give the fire chief permission to sell the old thermal imaging cameras. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next item, discuss and consider using unspent 2026 capital funds to purchase more thermal imaging cameras.
Is that 2025?
2026. So I've already
Spent 2026 funds.
bought the capital fund items for 2026 and bought them right away because they were on sale. So you guys approved for 2026 3 thermal imaging cameras for $24,000. They were on sale. We bought all 3 of them with the chargers for $18,790.34. That leaves $5,209.66 unspent from the 24,000 that was approved.
Okay.
So the thermal imaging cameras that we bought under the capital budgets are the full-size cameras that are more detailed. We have 1 of those per truck. And what we want to do is they make a smaller, it's more portable. It's like it's a personal thermal imaging camera for the SCBA's so that they don't have as high resolution, but they're for quick use, and then more people would have access to a thermal imaging camera. Right now, there's 4 people that operate on a truck and only 1 camera per truck. So if you're using multiple teams, then there's only 1 team that has a thermal imaging camera, where these little portable ones that are going on your SCBA's give everybody who's wearing an SCBA an option to have a thermal imaging camera. Like I said, they're not as high.
Still shows a blob though, right?
It shows the temperature, it shows where the fire's at. It's another safety feature for the firefighters while they're operating. Like I said, they're not as high resolution as the big ones that we just bought on the capital thing, but they're like an added safety feature for firefighters. And we'd like to start buying them for all the packs. So with that remaining funds, we'd be able to buy about 4 of them, which would be enough to do engine 3, the first truck for structure fires. And then we're gonna try and get more later this year through a grant. But like I said, I was just hoping that we could use the unspent 5209 to buy like 4 of them right now for it.
How would they be deployed then?
They mount directly to the SCBA, and when they get in the truck to go on the call, they put their SCBA on. It's already clipped to the.
So these are gonna remain on their air packs, I don't wanna say permanently, but I
Yeah,
guess more or less permanently, rather than being on the truck and somebody's gotta grab it off, go click,
Correct.
and then. And what about batteries and all that kind of stuff, or is that something you have to charge regular, or how does that?
Yeah, there's some charging that has to be done, but we'll come up with a, kind of like a policy for charging. So we'll probably do it on our Sundays during the rig checks. So
Are these mid-level or are they high level or they're higher grade ones than these?
they're, I mean, they're not as high grade as what we just bought for the capital budget,
Yeah.
but they're still quality product. They're not junk or anything like that.
Okay, I was wondering if there were ones about the same size that were even better, that would be better for you guys. You understand what I'm saying? If,
For what we're gonna use them for, I think that these are pretty good. And like April just said, we actually got the idea from City of Madison uses these on all their air packs for their people. So it's what city's been using for a while. So they're tested. So
okay,
So you talked about a grant. Is it possible that you could get all the ones that you would want through a grant and hold off on this until the grant would be,
we already applied for the grant
okay?
and we have 27 air packs. We'd like to put it on every air pack.
Yeah, of course.
But the funding that the grant was for was enough to do about 15 packs. So it's still gonna be in stages regardless of what we do. So this would be more or less that we have to buy out of operating budget or come back next year for or something.
It's also a really competitive grant, so it's highly unlikely that you'll get the grant. It's just one that we tried for. So we may be coming back to you to ask for other funding sources that we have available to us. So.
I guess I personally, you said you could buy 4 more with the remaining funds, you said?
Yeah, about 4 of them, yeah.
I make a motion, we do that,
I would,
buy the 4 with the money that's left over from the 20.
From that 24,000, yeah.
I'd second it.
You have a motion and a second to allow the chief to spend the remaining funds, the capital funds for the the original thermal imaging cameras, to add the personal sized cameras, as many as the funds will allow
Up to a total of 24,000.
total.
Wait, how much were the funds left over? We,
Just over 5, I think you said.
$5,209.66.
and that's the only amount being spent, correct?
Up to that
Correct,
24,000.
it's up to the
yeah.
original 24,000.
Oh, I get it, I understand, thank you.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Everybody understand the motion?
Mhm.
Discussion.
Yeah, I guess it's obviously it's February 23rd. We're 2 months into the year. Not knowing what the year might bring and, are there other potential items that, spending unspent money right now, and I know it's for a good ad. We didn't have those portable ones in the original budget for a reason, right? Obviously. I know that it kind of takes you to the next level, but there's a lot of unknowns for the rest of the year. So are you confident that we're not gonna come across something where we could benefit from having some unspent money? I guess that would be my question.
Yeah, I think most of our operating budget, because the operating budget had to get done so early last year, because they were trying to get everything in. The paper call, we had to do the rough budget. A lot of stuff we put extra money in to account for stuff because we weren't totally sure what our budget looked like. So I think there's enough money in our operating budget for other items that might come up throughout the year, just because we had to put extra in it to get the budget done in July rather than September when we would normally do it.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item, discuss, consider next meeting date and the agenda items.
March 23rd, right?
Yes. (6:30) right after landfill. Just to satisfy my curiosity, would you mind bringing one of the new smaller cameras in with you for the next fire meeting, just so?
If we have them by then, the first cameras that we ordered them the first week of January, and we got them about a week ago, so
6-week lead time.
Yeah.
there's some lead time.
Whenever you get them there for next
When we
meeting.
can get them, yeah, we'll bring.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see them.
We can bring, the car's got one of the new more detailed ones, so I can bring both in. if you want to
Okay.
see.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, for next month's meeting, obviously the ordinance update. Regular stuff. Anybody have anything else?
Not right now.
Too early to tell. I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Did they ask, did you enjoy your review of the fire station?
Oh, yeah, I've seen the fire station many times. But yes.
It's always good to visit.
Did you, were you working with the guys or talking with them? Did you-
No, I mean, we just kind of, they gave us like the hour slot, so we just kind of followed them around.
Oh,
This is no longer being recorded.
yeah, PAA, I was referring